Ethan Klein has doubled down on his charity fraud. His charity fraud, the H3 podcast charity fraud, Ahmed Fouad Al-Khatib and the Atlantic Council's charity fraud. They have doubled down on it. So, if you don't know what happened, Ethan Klein in his podcast this past week solicited donations implying that they were for Palestine. Donate to Palestine was the name of the section of the video. The first thing they did in that section was Ahmed Fouad Al-Khatib, who is a paid pro-Israel propagandist, solicited donations for a pretend pro-Palestine organization called Realign for Palestine, which is actually just donating money to the Atlantic Council. Since then, someone on Reddit asked the Atlantic Council, where does the money for Realign for Palestine go? It was already pretty obvious. I said this before, like, you know, they don't have like I think it's a 305C disclaimer, which is required in the US if you're actually donating to charity. I noticed that there was no such disclaimer on their website, so I knew immediately that it was not a real charity donation thing. So I made a video denouncing that, how they pretty much just committed charity fraud by making people think they were donating to Palestine, but they very much were not. So someone emailed the Atlantic Council. The Atlantic Council confirmed that if you donate to Realign to Palestine, you know, which is a part of their organization, it's really just a glorified website to let Ahmed like have a thing to play with. They said, thank you for reaching out and for your question. The donations page on our website goes to support our work through the Atlantic Council. This includes helping Ahmed and our team and to allow him to do many of the media appearances he does, blah, blah, blah. So basically, the money that you donate goes to the Atlantic Council and it funds Ahmed Fouad Al-Khatib doing pro-Israel propaganda. And this is what Ethan Klein framed on his podcast. You can still see in the podcast episode, the section is called Donate to Palestine. He framed this as donating to Palestine. You can see here, the section is still called Donate to Palestine. Donate to Palestine. And what's the first thing that you hear when you play this section?
As I work at the Atlantic Council, where I am a resident senior fellow, but also I run Realign for Palestine through the Atlantic Council. And I have we have like our own standalone website, realignforpalestine.org. There is a donate button.
So they're trying to say this is okay because after that, he said that people should also donate to the World Food Program. Now, if I was, for example, soliciting donations for, say, hurricane victims, and I began my soliciting for donations by first plugging my own website so you can donate to me, and then I also said that you can donate to hurricane victims here, everyone would fucking know that was fraud. Everyone would fucking know precisely what I was doing there, that I was trying to get people to give me money under the guise of donating to hurricane victims. That's what they did here. Same thing. First you plug yourself, then you plug the World Food Program and imply that these things basically are very similar or the same under a section called Donate to Palestine. It's clear what happened here. Now, Ethan Klein has been doubling down on this. He claimed himself specifically that the money does not actually go to the Atlantic Council. So here you can see Hassan saying, when he talked about this, that the money went to the Atlantic Council. What does Ethan Klein say to that?
It's mad.
Fundraiser was for the Atlantic Council directly. All proceeds went to the fucking Atlantic Council.
So that's just a straight up defamatory outright lie.
That's a defamatory outright lie. That's a defamatory outright lie. I mean, we have the fucking email from the Atlantic Council confirming that's where the money goes. But it gets worse. Ethan posted a story yesterday where he reposted tweets made from Ahmed Fouad Al-Khatib. Ahmed was trying to frame himself as like a victim of harassment, of course, because he's being called out for what he actually is, which is a paid collaborator with Israel. And Ahmed out himself said that the money went to himself in the Atlantic Council. He was open about it. So Ethan Klein, before he did this podcast episode, he had already posted something that made clear the money was going to the Atlantic Council himself. This guy, he constantly, fucking endlessly, it's fucking maddening what he always does. Like he posts something or says something, and then you cite the thing that he said, right? And he has the gall to then complain and act like he didn't actually say it. So here is a screenshot of that. His own story, where Ahmed Fouad Al-Khatib said, Ethan Klein hosted me on his podcast and donated $1,000 each to the World Food Program's Gaza appeal and to Realign to Palestine, my project at the Atlantic Council. He says it right there. The donation was to the Atlantic Council. And Ethan Klein, on his podcast, after he had already reposted this tweet from Ahmed Fouad Al-Khatib, claims that the money didn't actually go to the Atlantic Council. And worse, we found out from this that Ethan Klein donated $1,000 to a fucking propaganda organization. The Atlantic Council is a pro-Israel propaganda organization. And Ethan Klein donated $1,000 to them. So Ethan Klein is fucking funding genocide propaganda. As if it wasn't bad enough when he was doing it himself. There was also a point during this, let's see if I can find it, where Hila implied that the money was for Gaza. She said like, oh, Hassan really doesn't want us to give money to Gaza. The layers to this clear charity fraud. If this was for anything except Palestine, the FBI would probably already be on it. The only reason they're not on it is because they probably don't give a shit about anyone who's pro-Israel.
So when that happens, I'll pull it up in a minute.
It's really crazy how Hassan just doesn't want us to help Gazans.
He does, yeah.
So she implies there quite clearly that this money sent to the Atlantic Council was to help Gazans. Gazans, just to be clear, is a dog whistle used by pro-Israel people because they don't like to use the word Palestinians. Using a regional identifier like that denies them their national identity because they want the national identity to not exist, just to put that clear. But either way, which is a little aside, not really relevant to the overall thing here, that's Hila Klein, one of the hosts of the H3 podcast, saying quite clearly that the money sent to the Atlantic Council helps Gazans. The money sent to the pro-Israel organization helps Gazans. They're doubling down on the charity fraud. They are doubling down on the fucking charity fraud. They never even changed the name of the segment of the podcast where they scam those donations. It's fucking disgusting. As well, by the way, the reason why they specifically solicited donations for the World Food Program is because the World Food Program is like the least effective charity they could have asked for money for. The World Food Program has openly said they don't actually need money. World Food Program has said they have enough food to feed 1 million people for 4 months. They don't need money. What they've needed is for Israel to allow them in. But Israel has denied them entry. So the strategic reason that he chose the World Food Program to recommend to donate to is because he's a pro-Israel shill. And for him, the UNRWA, which also, by the way, the UNRWA, the reason why it's good to donate to them, if you're going to donate to a big organization, is because they also help Palestinian refugees outside of Gaza. So you send them money, it's not just for Gaza, it's also for Palestinian refugees everywhere. Whereas if you donate to the World Food Program, that money doesn't do anything right now. It's probably not going to do anything for a long-ass fucking time because they don't actually need food, they have enough food. And people like Ahmed think that the UNRWA is Hamas. That's why they don't recommend you donate to it. So if you see this tweet from 10 hours ago from the World Food Program, the World Food Program has enough food to feed all 2.2 million people for 2 months. They don't need food. That's just them, by the way. That's not even including the other organizations that also provide food aid. So they already have enough money. They don't need money. What they need is a ceasefire so they can give the food to the fucking people who need it. What they need is Israel to let them in and give and distribute the food. That's why they chose the World Food Program, specifically a strategic choice to choose a charity that does nothing. You donate to the World Food Program right now, your money is going up in flames. It doesn't do anything. They don't need resources. They need permission. So it's insidious on so many different levels. And that they're doubling down on this is totally insane. Just another week in the depraved reality of the H3 podcast, huh?